Are you tired of hearing that all learning styles are the same, that one-size-fits-all crap? Here's the truth. INFJs are the ultimate visual learners, and it's not even close. They don't just see images, they decode them. They understand what 99% of the population misses. So let me ask you, what's stopping you from unlocking this superpower? You might think you know how you learn best, but what if you're wrong? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to see things differently. All right, first thing first. INFJs have an intuitive understanding of symbolism. Let me drop a bombshell on you. INFJs don't just look at symbols, they feel them. They don't see things the way the average person does. They see layers, they see meaning. When most people look at a picture or a symbol, they just get the surface. But for an INFJ, that same image is a conversation with the universe, a call to understand something deeper. You've probably heard someone say, "It's just a tree." But INFJs, they know that tree represents growth, rootedness, life. It's not just a random object in a field, it's everything that tree signifies. Here's the kicker. INFJs are wired to decode these symbols instantly. They don't just see art, they decode its hidden messages. A simple color palette in a painting, it's speaking to them. A hand gesture in a conversation, it tells a story. What's your excuse for missing all the signs around you? The truth is, you're probably walking around blind, not tapping into your own ability to decipher the world visually. If you could see the world like an INFJ, everything would open up. The secret to unlocking a new layer of intelligence is staring you right in the face. It's time to start decoding the symbols around you. All right, moving on to point number 2. They absorb information faster with visual aids. Let me hit you with an uncomfortable truth. If you're still relying on dry textbooks or hours of lectures to absorb information, you're doing it all wrong. Here's why. INFJs absorb information faster than you can blink, and they do it with visual aids. Diagrams, charts, videos, these aren't just nice-to-haves for INFJs. They're the shortcut to understanding the material on a deeper level. Imagine this. You're trying to memorize a complicated concept. You read it over and over, but it doesn't stick. That's because your brain is overloaded with abstract information. But an INFJ, they glance at a well-organized flowchart and boom, everything falls into place. They get it. They don't need to read paragraphs upon paragraphs. They need to see the connections, the structure, and the patterns. Here's the kicker. Visuals don't just help INFJs understand faster, they help them understand more deeply. They're not just memorizing surface-level details. They're connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture, and internalizing the information in a way that others can't. If you're not using visuals, you're delaying your success. Visual aids aren't just extra, they're the fastest way to level up your learning. So stop fighting against your brain's natural wiring. Start using visuals to accelerate your learning today. All right. Thirdly, INFJs see connections in the visual world. Here's a truth that will make your brain do a double take. INFJs see connections where most people see chaos. They don't just look at visuals, they connect them. Everything is linked. Every picture, every symbol, every visual cue, they see the intricate web of relationships between them. It's like their minds are constantly piecing together a puzzle while you're still trying to figure out the edges. Take something as simple as a picture of a bridge. You might look at it and think it's just a bridge, but to an INFJ, that bridge represents connection, overcoming obstacles, journeys. It's more than just metal and stone. It's part of a bigger narrative that connects different pieces of life. Now here's where it gets deep. INFJs can't not see these connections. It's like their brain is programmed to link ideas visually. They understand relationships between abstract concepts and visual cues that you can't even see. It's this ability to see how things fit together that makes them master visual learners. And what about you? If you're not actively looking for connections in the visual world, you're leaving out a whole dimension of understanding. Every piece of information you come across is part of a bigger puzzle. And if you're not seeing how the pieces connect, you're missing out on the real learning. The next time you look at a visual, don't just look, connect. Start seeing the relationships, and your understanding will soar. INFJs are ahead of you, and it's because they've already cracked the code to seeing the bigger picture. Fourthly, INFJs have a strong visual memory. Let's get brutally honest for a second. INFJs have a photographic memory. It's not a myth. It's not some far-off dream. They remember things in crystal clear detail, visual detail. When you're struggling to recall the name of that one person you met last week, INFJs are flashing back to a vivid mental image of that interaction, down to the color of the shirt they were wearing, the exact position of their body, and even the way their eyes moved. You might think this is a talent reserved for geniuses, but let's face it, your memory probably isn't as sharp as it could be. You rely on rote memorization or take notes just to get through it. But INFJs have an edge because their minds store visuals, and they can access those mental snapshots at will. When they see something, it's not just locked in their brain, it's embedded with layers of detail that allow them to recall the moment as if it happened 5 minutes ago. Here's the kicker. This isn't just about remembering facts. This is about understanding. INFJs process information by building mental images and anchoring it in their memory. The visuals aren't just there to be remembered, they are integrated into their understanding of the world. So what's your excuse for not tapping into this? If you're only relying on written or auditory methods, you're missing the power of your own mind. Your brain is capable of so much more if you start looking at the world with the same visual clarity that INFJs do. INFJs aren't better at learning, they're smarter about how they use their visual memory. Start using yours, or keep stumbling over the same facts, hoping they'll stick. Fifthly, they create mental imagery for better understanding. Here's a cold, hard truth. INFJs don't just process information, they visualize it. They create entire mental landscapes to understand ideas. Concepts that would leave you scratching your head are turned into vivid images inside their minds. They don't read a page and wonder, what does this mean? They see it unfold like a movie. And you're probably trying to remember every word and fact, struggling to connect the dots. INFJs don't need to remember every little thing. They break down complex ideas by visualizing them in their minds. They create mental pictures, vivid, clear images that make the abstract feel tangible. Think about this. You're trying to solve a problem. Most people are stuck, looking for answers in the wrong places. But INFJs, they close their eyes and visualize the problem in every possible way. Different angles, different perspectives, until the solution clicks. It's like they have an entire library of mental images at their disposal. Now, let me ask you, how often do you use your mind's eye? How often do you close your eyes and see the problem before you solve it? If you're not tapping into this ability, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Mental imagery isn't just a fun trick. It's a powerful tool for learning and understanding. INFJs know this. They've mastered the art of creating mental visuals to understand the world on a deeper level. You don't need to wait for the world to explain things to you. Start visualizing, and you'll unlock an entirely new level of comprehension. Sixthly, INFJs can interpret emotions through visual cues. Here's a surprise jaw-dropping fact. INFJs don't need words to understand how someone feels. They read emotions by looking at your face, your body language, the tiniest shifts in posture and expression. While most of us are too busy focusing on what someone says, INFJs are watching how it's said, because they know the body never lies. You probably think you're good at reading people, but be honest, how many times have you missed the hidden emotions someone is trying to conceal? INFJs never miss a beat. They see the micro-expressions, the subtle eyebrow raise, the tightness in someone's jaw. They understand the real conversation happening beneath the surface. Imagine you're in a meeting. You're listening to someone speak, but INFJs aren't just listening. They're watching. They're catching the nervous glance, the flicker of hesitation, the way your hands tremble when you talk about a sensitive subject. To them, all of this means something. It's all part of the emotional picture, and they can piece it together faster than you realize. So what does this mean for you? You're missing out on critical information if you're not paying attention to these visual cues. Emotions are everywhere, on people's faces, in the way they move, in the pauses between their words. INFJs have cracked the code to understanding others, and they're doing it through visuals. If you want to level up your emotional intelligence, start looking closely. Stop relying on words alone, and start paying attention to the visual cues in front of you. Because in the game of human connection, INFJs already know more than you. Will you catch up or stay behind? All right, seventhly, INFJs thrive in creative and visual learning environments. Here's the truth that's going to hit hard. INFJs don't fit into the traditional learning box. They don't thrive in a classroom full of lectures and dusty textbooks. They need a learning environment that stimulates their creativity, visual stimulation. Think vibrant colors, diagrams, drawings, and hands-on experiences. This is where they come alive. And you've been brainwashed into thinking that traditional methods are the only way. Sitting in a room full of text and hearing endless lectures is what school taught you to do. But that's not how an INFJ learns. They need interaction, they need creativity, and most importantly, they need visuals to make sense of the world. Why? Because INFJs don't learn through memorization alone. They need to experience, to visualize, to engage in ways that resonate with their deeper sense of understanding. They absorb more when they can see the material come to life, whether it's through art, hands-on projects, or visual tools like mind maps and diagrams. They process information faster and more effectively. So why are you still forcing yourself into a rigid, outdated learning style? If you want to learn better, you need to rethink how you engage with information. INFJs already get it. They seek out learning spaces that feed their creativity. And guess what? They're the ones who actually retain information long-term. If you're serious about unlocking your potential, start asking, how can I make my environment more visual? How can I actively engage with the material instead of passively absorbing it? The shift will change everything. INFJs aren't just learning, they're thriving. So why are you still stuck in your old ways? Time to level up.
Eighthly, INFJs use visuals to communicate complex ideas. Here's the hard truth. INFJs are masters at simplifying complexity, and they do it with visuals. While you're struggling to articulate your ideas with words, INFJs are turning abstract concepts into something you can see. They don't just explain, they show. And when they show, you get it. You might think explaining something means throwing a ton of words at the problem, but INFJs don't buy into that nonsense. They know that the moment you use visuals, everything changes. A simple diagram, a chart, a drawing, they take the complexity out of the equation. They break it down in a way that clicks instantly. You might not even realize it, but when an INFJ explains something to you with a visual, it's sticky. You'll remember it longer, understand it faster, and retain it better. Here's the kicker. INFJs have a natural ability to see the big picture, and they use visuals to help others see it too. Instead of talking in circles, they cut to the chase. They don't get bogged down by the details. They use visuals to highlight the essentials and make it crystal clear. So what does that mean for you? If you're still relying on endless words to communicate, you're missing a massive opportunity. Visuals aren't just for decoration. They're tools to enhance understanding, simplify communication, and make sure your ideas stick. Next time you have something complex to explain, stop talking and start showing. Use diagrams, sketches, and images to make your point clear. If you don't, you'll be left in the dust as the INFJs of the world breeze through with their sharp, visual communication. INFJs don't just make things easier to understand, they make them unforgettable. Why aren't you doing the same?
All right, ninthly, INFJs prefer visual storytelling over abstract concepts. Here's a truth that might sting. INFJs can't stand abstract, dry theories. They don't care about concepts that don't paint a picture. They need visual storytelling to make sense of the world. Facts and data don't stick unless there's a story to go with them. So while you're buried in textbooks, INFJs are diving into documentaries, movies, and interactive experiences that bring ideas to life. Why? Because INFJs don't just learn by reading, they learn by feeling the story unfold. They need to see the characters, the plot, the visual journey from start to finish. They need to see how things work in real life, not just abstractly theorized on paper. You could hand them a research paper, but if it doesn't have a narrative, if it doesn't have a visual context, forget it. It won't make an impact. You? You're probably sitting there with pages of raw data, struggling to make sense of it all. But an INFJ? They've already turned that data into a visual experience. They've seen the story, and the concepts have come alive. They understand things through context, through visuals that make everything connect. They're the ones who can explain complex ideas through stories, not just facts. So let me ask you, are you still consuming information like it's just a pile of dry facts? Or are you starting to see that storytelling, especially through visuals, is the most powerful way to learn and communicate? If you're not telling stories with visuals, you're losing out on the real understanding. Next time you need to learn something new, stop looking at it as a set of dry principles. Find the story, visualize the process. Because INFJs have already figured out that the key to truly understanding something is to see it through a narrative, a story that you can feel. You're not just memorizing facts, you're experiencing them. INFJs don't just absorb information, they live it. You should too. Last but not least, INFJs can see the big picture and the details at the same time. Here's the secret you're probably missing. INFJs have the ability to zoom out and see the big picture while also zooming in on the smallest details. It's like they've cracked the code to understanding everything on multiple levels at once. You might get stuck in the weeds, obsessing over tiny details, or you might step back and see the general overview. But INFJs, they can hold both perspectives in their mind simultaneously. Think about it. When most people look at a project, they focus on either the small stuff or the broader goal. but INFJs can visualize the project as a whole, how each small piece contributes to the bigger vision. They don't get lost in the minor details, and they don't miss the forest for the trees. They balance both, and that's where their learning power lies. You might think this is just a gift or something only certain people can do, but it's not. INFJs have mastered this ability because they naturally understand that everything is connected. The big picture doesn't make sense without the details, and the details are meaningless without the context. INFJs integrate both at the same time, which gives them a unique advantage when it comes to learning and understanding. So why are you still stuck? Why are you either bogged down by tiny details or completely lost in the bigger picture? You can have both, and INFJs show you how. If you're not actively learning how to balance both, you're missing out on true understanding. The next time you're tackling something complex, ask yourself, am I seeing the whole picture, or am I too focused on just one part of it? INFJs already know that real learning happens when you connect the big picture with the details. And if you're not doing that, you're holding yourself back. INFJs see it all. Will you? Or are you stuck in the fog? So what do you think? Do you see yourself in any of these traits, or do you struggle with visual learning? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. And if you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Remember, your mind has the potential to learn in ways you've never imagined. It's time to unlock it.